Hello everyone, welcome to Xia and Fengshui. Today, we're going to talk about a story related to placing the living pillar. Firstly, what is placing the living pillar? It is a ritual of human sacrifice in East Asian countries before the start of a construction project, and can be considered one of the darkest and most grotesque customs in architectural history. In the past, when people built bridges and roads, accidents such as collapse often occurred, resulting not only in financial losses but also injuries. Bridges are called locks in Feng Shui, while rivers and streams are referred to as dragons. Building a bridge is like putting locks on a dragon's body. So strange events often occur during the construction process, such as difficulties in setting bridge piers or various construction accidents. According to folklore, this means offending the Dragon King, requiring a life to compensate, which requires the use of placing the living pillar to resolve. So, how does it work exactly? In ancient times, a pair of boy and girl were selected, with the boy buried alive inside the bridge pier at the beginning of the bridge, while the girl was buried alive in the bridge pier at the end of the bridge. This is the practice of placing the living pillar. Once the bridge is completed, they become the guardian spirits of the bridge. In modern times, the requirements for placing the living pillar are not as strict. If they can't find a boy and girl, they might use a homeless person instead, pushing them into the wet concrete on the bridge pier and sealing it, causing the living person to vanish, regardless of being homeless or having a family. They are rarely found afterward. After discussing placing the living pillar, let's talk about the soul-boring pile. When building small bridges, sometimes due to site selection issues or timing problems, the bridge pier construction cannot be completed. The construction party will hold a ritual to ensure the smooth completion of the bridge. The ritual of the soul-boring pile involves setting up a red plaque at the bridge's entrance. When a passerby approaches, the person performing the ritual calls out to them. If the passerby responds or turns to look, the soul-boring pile is considered successfully executed. It is said that after the successful execution of the soul-boring pile ritual, the soul of the passerby will be trapped in the bridge, and they will pass away shortly. What I'm saying may seem as if it only existed in the feudal society of the past. However, in modern times, there have also been many instances. What I want to share today revolves around the experiences of a person I will refer to as Jack. At that time, Jack was quite young, and due to some family reasons, he was sent to his uncle's place to attend junior high school. His uncle lived in a small town in the north, where there was a river. The river was not wide but very long, connecting the entire town together. Jack's junior high school was located right beside that river, and not far away there was an old stone bridge, which is said to have been built in the early 1950s. Jack's school has a girl who always goes to the stone bridge. Sometimes she stays there all afternoon. Her classmates used to say that she was making friends with ghosts. Her parents found out about it somehow. They consulted a psychic, who said their daughter was troubled by something unclean. To help her recover, they needed to identify exactly what was troubling her. But the girl herself revealed that it was a little girl. She even shared the girl's name, parents' names, and where they lived. The townspeople quickly started asking around and found out an old woman who knew the girl. According to her, back in the 1950s, the town was still just a village. During 3 years of natural disasters, many in the village starved. The government decided to provide relief at and build a bridge for better transport. Everyone might have guessed it. The bridge that was built by the villagers at that time is the old stone bridge next to Jack's school. However, when building that stone bridge, they always had trouble with the foundation of the bridge piers. Some suggested moving to different location. The villagers agreed and tried elsewhere. But strangely, the bridge piers still wouldn't hold. The villagers start feeling disheartened. But not building the bridge was not an option. Aside from future transportation issues, if the bridge wasn't built properly, the village might not receive government relief supplies. Everyone was getting extremely anxious because there were already some people die of starvation in the village. One day, someone proposed the idea of finding an expert to check if there were any Feng Shui issue in the village. In such a situation, the villagers had no choice but to try anything. So the villagers sought out an individual who claimed to be a Taoist. They asked him to take a look at what was going on. As their transportation options didn't allow them to reach a real Taoist at that time. The Taoist told them that although the river was not very wide, it was a small dragon. Building a bridge there would be like putting chains on the dragon. The Dragon King would not allow it to be constructed. The villagers then asked him for a solution. He advised that to atone for the offense to the Dragon King, they would have to sacrifice a life to fill the bridge and establish it by placing the living pillar into the ground. They would have to use a person as a sacrificial offering to guard the bridge to ensure its stability. Though the people of that time were superstitious, they still frightened by the idea of using a living person for sacrifice, as it involved real human lives. Except for a few who remain silent. Most people do not approve of this method because it is simply too inhumane. Yet, with more and more people starving in the village, delaying the build of the bridge by one more day means one more person will starve to death. Gradually, those who initially opposed the idea also fell silent. Later, some suggested having those on the brink of starvation sacrifice themselves, since they are going to die anyway. As long as they are willing, the village will treat their family well in the future. However, no one is willing to sacrifice themselves. Even if they are going to die tomorrow, they are unwilling to be literally buried alive in the bridge pier. In the village at that time, there was a family with relatively good economic conditions, having 2 sons and 2 daughters. Not only were they well off, but they also had good hearts, often providing relief to others by giving food. Without their assistance, more people in the village would have starved. However, there were always some ungrateful individuals. There was a very lazy person in the village at that time who hardly tended to his field. So, when starvation struck, he had absolutely no food reserves. He was the first to receive aid from the wealthy family in the village. But instead of feeling grateful, he even thought that the wealthy family was enjoying meat while only giving him coarse grains. Consequently, this lazy person kidnapped the wealthy family's youngest daughter. Initially, he intended to blackmail money from them. But then he heard that if someone is willing to sacrifice themselves or having their family member as living pillar, then the village will prioritize their family for any future benefits. Thus, the lazy person buried the wealthy family's little daughter alive in the foundation of the bridge. Early the next day, the villagers saw several heavy bridge piers added in the river. The villagers were thrilled to see the piers being constructed, but none of them dared to think about who was inside those piers, even though they knew, and many had benefited from their family's generosity. At that moment, it seems as if they all agreed to forget who extended a helping hand when they were on the brink of starvation. Eventually, the village expanded into a town, and it was heard that the wealthy family had spent all their money to source justice as they headed to Beijing. Ever since the young girl was buried into the bridge pier, bridges could be built anywhere on the river without collapsing. However, the locals of the village mostly avoid the bridge where the girl was buried and prefer to take a detour through other bridges. Gradually, this incident was almost forgotten, if not for the establishment of a school later on, if not for Jack's classmate being involved, and if not for the elderly residents who were still around from the original village. This incident would have never been known. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for watching my video. If you like it, please like and subscribe me. I'm Xia Xia. I will see you next time. Bye bye.